How's it going, everyone? Happy Monday morning. Happy Victory Monday. 3 in a row. Savor it. These are the 49ers. There haven't been a lot of these in the last 20 years. I know I've been covering the team. I've been following the team a long time. Usually today is Vish Monday. Mondays with Vish. But Vish, you may not know, but Vish is just a college student. He does this in his spare time. Right now, he's doing finals for his engineering degree. So he's got to focus. I would hate Vish's dad. Don't worry. I'm not taking him away. He's a good student. He's going to get A's. Don't worry. Vish will be back, but he's got to do his main job right now. He just does this in his spare time. He's great at it. So it'll be me. We'll do a little quality control. I got a lot to talk about. It'll be a quality control for the fans. The organization can watch, but I'm not addressing them directly today. This is just between us. Okay? So let's start with Deebo Samuel's injury. This is the biggest news hanging over the team right now. I'll talk about sort of how the Niners can best position themselves for a Super Bowl run after this. But now we have news about Deebo Samuel's injury. Ian Rappaport, the man of the hour, 49er fans' best friend, who's probably just as popular as me right now with the 49ers, if not more, said this morning, tweeted, 49ers wide receiver / offensive weapon, interesting, said Deebo Samuel will have an MRI on his groin today, and while he's expected to miss a little time, it's not considered a major injury, source said. Good news going forward. So this is pretty much exactly what Kyle Shanahan said last night, but Ian has a source, which is great. But what's interesting here is he calls this good news, and it is good news. If the Niners get to the playoffs, it sounds like Deebo will be there, but he does say he's expected to miss a little time. I mean, that's interesting. It's kind of like burying the lead. I guess if you thought it was really bad, this is good, but he's expected to miss a little time. Deebo Samuel means he may not play against Seattle, may not play against Cincinnati. Who knows? What is a little time? Is that 1 game? Is it 2 games? Is it 3 games? Is it no games? All I know is last year he had these kind of like muscle strains, low-grade strains twice. Once in New England, once in Washington. Each time missed 3 games. So I'm not sure what a little time is. Maybe the good news is that he'll be there for the playoffs, or he'll be there in a few weeks, or he'll be there in 2 weeks. But it sounds like he's not going to play against Seattle. So good news, not the best news, definitely not the worst news. It's news. Let's talk about Deebo for a minute, though. He's having an MVP season. If he only misses 1 game, that shouldn't really derail it. He's still carrying this team to wins. They would have maybe 1 or 2 without him. And what's interesting is he's now shown that he's this phenomenal running back. He may not be the best wide receiver in the league. He may be the best running back in the league, and he's not even getting double-digit carries ever. He's just devastating you with 5 to 8. But what's interesting is that he doesn't there's a reason he's now become a running back. There's a reason that Ian Rappaport just referred to him as a wide receiver / offensive weapon. In a couple more weeks, it's going to be wide receiver / running back. It's because of the quarterback on the team. The quarterback isn't good enough at getting Deebo the ball. Deebo's great, but his production depends on Jimmy Garoppolo's performance and ability, which is limited to those, 10-yard passes, basically passes that go 10 yards past the line of scrimmage, or the occasional 15 to 20-yard throw up the hash. That's Jimmy. So why limit Deebo Samuel's effectiveness? Why let Jimmy Garoppolo limit Deebo Samuel's effectiveness when you can just hand it off to Deebo Samuel and take Jimmy Garoppolo out of the equation? If the 49ers had Patrick Mahomes or Tom Brady, Deebo Samuel wouldn't be playing running back. He wouldn't have to. The Niners have a good running back. His name is Elijah Mitchell. They don't need to play Deebo at running back. All of his injuries in the NFL have come playing running back. All 3. Well, I mean, end arounds, but still running the ball behind the line of scrimmage. That's how his injuries have happened. He wouldn't have to do that if the quarterback was better. So I know it's like Jimmy Garoppolo revival time, and everyone wants to sing Kumbaya and give Jimmy Garoppolo a lot of praise, but he's the reason Deebo is playing running back when he really shouldn't. I mean, it's kind of it's a double-edged sword. Deebo at running back has saved the Niners season. They wouldn't be where they are without him doing that, but it's not sustainable. He's not a running back. His injuries come when he does this stuff. It has to be limited, 3 or 4 times a game, clearly. That's what he can do. But as long as Jimmy Garoppolo is the quarterback, Deebo's going to have to have 5 to 10 carries a game because that's the Niners formula for winning with Jimmy at quarterback. That's why Deebo Samuel's becoming a running back. Let's talk about this report yesterday from Rappaport. This was before the game. Rappaport goes on television and had a really dramatic report. I want to read it again because he came out firing. He said, 49ers head coach Kyle Shanahan opened the door this week for Jimmy Garoppolo potentially coming back in 2022. This is Rappaport. Allow me to shut that door. Absent a Super Bowl run, which at this point still is theoretically possible, this is the 49ers plan next season. Start Trey Lance, trade Jimmy Garoppolo. Not a surprise there. They've been pretty upfront about that. What Garoppolo is doing now is increasing the value of picks the Niners get in a trade involving him and making it more likely that a place he wants to go would want to take him. Now, Rappaport didn't say that he had a source. He didn't say that he talked to a source in the organization. He's very careful. He's an excellent journalist, which is why he's the number one guy at NFL Network and has been so for a long time. He knows what he's doing here. He didn't say he had a source, but he also dropped the news and phrased it in such a way that led you to believe that he spoke to someone this week, that he checked. Oh, Kyle Shanahan said something that was vague and made it seem like the Niners may be changing their plan at quarterback. I was under the impression, this is what Ian could be saying here. Everyone said the plan is start Jimmy in 2021, trade him, start Lance in 2022. But it's looking like Jimmy might be playing his way back onto this team. People are talking about it in the Bay Area. Kyle Shanahan asked a question about it. And so he goes on television day of the game and says, look, there's a lot of, Kyle Shanahan may have left the door open. Basically, there's some chatter about this. Allow me to shut this down. Like, I've checked. The plan is the same. I mean, it would be so irresponsible. It would be the worst. It wouldn't be journalism for him to go on and be like, look, they told me something in May, and I'm too lazy to check back and say, is the plan the same? I'm just going off May information here. Even though Kyle Shanahan was vague as hell and left the door open by your admission, they told me something in May, and definitely nothing has changed since then. He has Jed York and Parag Maras's number on speed dial. Speed dial doesn't exist anymore, but you know what I'm saying. They've been texting each other for years. I'm thinking. Ian Rappaport has been the Niners' go-to guy for leaks since 2011? Who's calling me? I don't know you. Maybe it's the leak. Maybe it's, no, I don't know. So Ian Rappaport really comes out pretty strong, make it seem like, look, the plan hasn't changed, and I know for a fact. I checked. He didn't say I checked, but he made it seem like it, right? I mean, who comes out day of the game, be like, hey, I got information from May that I need to remind everyone? No. You check. You have their numbers. You're a journalist. You clearly, I'm guessing, someone called him or he texted someone and was like, hey, has the plan changed? And they're like, nope, but you didn't hear it from me. And he's like, cool, thanks. That's background. That's how it works in the business, called background. I don't know who it was. I'm not saying it was Jed. Could have been Lynch. I don't think it was Kyle. I think it's interesting. It seems to me that Kyle is never particularly interested in Trey Lance. I'm still thinking that's the case, and that he probably signed off on some deal with Jed and Lynch. It's like, okay, yeah, we'll keep Jimmy for 1 year, and then we'll give Trey a chance next year. But plans change. Jimmy's winning. Jimmy's winning. Maybe Kyle changed his mind. Maybe there's some pressure in the organization. Like, hey, you better stick to the plan, Kyle. All I know is after that loss to Arizona, Jed's dad showed up. That was weird. To watch Trey. Like, hey, we just lost to Colt McCoy with Jimmy Garoppolo. What's the plan here? And then all of a sudden, when all week last week, I talked about the fact that Jimmy could come back. Eric Branch asked the question to Kyle Shanahan. Kyle Shanahan gave a really confusing, vague answer. And now there's a report. All I know is the Niners, particularly this front office, has been very reactive to fan sentiment and pressure for years. They listen to this stuff. They're sensitive to it. I think they wanted to. I wouldn't be surprised if they wanted to address this day of the game, week of, and then as I made a big deal of it, I asked about it in the post game. Probably weren't expecting that. I made a big deal of it. I pointed out that really I'm not the bad guy here. It's whoever leaked this at this time. So unnecessary and unfair to Jimmy that they're like, this is a bad look. And then apparently Ian went on KNBR, the Niners flagship today, and he was like, I just walked it back a little bit. I was just, I was piecing to get whatever, man. Either you were totally irresponsible on television yesterday, or, you once again, the Niners feel a little sensitive about the public perception of what they're doing right now. So I don't know. I just feel like Ian Rappaport is the most connected person to the Niners by far. There's no one. It's not Schefter. It's Ian. Who's the person that reported that Jim Harbaugh lost the locker room before week 1 in 2014? Ian Rappaport. Every time there's a leak, it's Ian. No one else. Anyway, I wonder if it means that I don't know what it means, but I still don't believe it. I don't believe. I feel like Kyle Shanahan has a say in this, and he's holding his cards close to the vest. If he's as disinterested in Trey Lance as I think he is, story isn't over. Story isn't over. Kyle's been down before. He was down. He was 3-5 this year. Now he's 6-4. Don't bet against Kyle. Grant never got his pops out. Oh, yes, I did. I got him a Brunello, and we drank it on Thanksgiving. Question: do you think this is smoke and mirrors putting the trade news out there calms the fans down? I don't think it's true. Yeah, I think it was meant to calm the fans down, but I think it kind of upset them. There's a lot of people that like Jimmy Garoppolo and feel like this was gratuitous, especially when I asked the question about it. So I think it backfired a little bit. It backfired big time. Let's talk about Kyle Shanahan, though. I want to give Kyle Shanahan big credit. Ever since John York showed up after that loss to the Cardinals, ever since he lost to the Cardinals, calling 50 dropbacks and 10 runs and had a million excuses for why that was the only thing he could do, he's only won. And he's been winning a specific way with like 30 runs a game. 40 runs a game on average. That's his formula. And all of a sudden, he's dictating to defenses. He's saying, we can run the ball as much as we want. And there's nothing you can do to stop us. Where the first 8 games of the year wasn't the case. I mean, he had a million excuses for why that week he didn't have the right look to run the ball. And it was crazy is like, I got a stat for you. So Elijah Mitchell, great game yesterday, 27 carries. He's having a crazy workload, but he's in every game he's played this year, he's had at least 17 carries except for 2. The Arizona games. One he had 9 carries and one he had 8. That was so uncharacteristic of him and Kyle in this team. If Kyle had just run the ball with Mitchell and with Debo in those 2 games against Arizona, who's to say the Niners would have lost? They outgained Arizona with Trey Lance in the first game. What if they'd allowed Trey Lance to also hand off the way they win? That's how they win, handing off. What if they had done that against Arizona? Hand off. That's their best play. Or toss it. What if they had done that against Arizona? I don't understand how it took Kyle this long to like have an epiphany. And I'm glad he did. And the Niners could definitely run the table. But look at the opportunity they missed. They should definitely have more wins right now. When they said, we could easily be this and that. Yeah. Give the ball to Elijah Mitchell. You have a formula for winning. It's handing off. And they had 2 games where they didn't do it and lost because of that. And Kyle, again, had all these excuses. And what kills me about Kyle, after the second Arizona game, hey, don't you wish you would have ran the ball a little bit more in the first half? And instead of him being like, yeah, of course. He's like, no, they couldn't because there was a 6-man front and there was no way. And he like goes on and on and on and on defending himself. When I'm like, Watch how you call the game next week. I bet you run the hell out of the ball next week. And that's his real answer. His real answer is how he calls the game going forward. Okay, Grant, everyone criticizing me. You're right. I'm going to make the adjustment. I'm going to run the ball. But in the press conference that week, he's like, no, we had to do that. Okay. No, you didn't. And you won't do that ever again. And I want to make sure that Kyle Shanahan sticks to the script from here on out. You got it. If Deebo Samuel's your MVP, Elijah Mitchell is 1B. Because you can't do this really. You can't win these styles of game against good teams without that running back. Jeff Wilson Jr. isn't going to cut it. He did it against Jacksonville, but you need Mitchell and his 17 carries. Kyle, I don't understand how it took him this long, but good for you that you got there. Based Debo, thank you, Based Debo. Yeah, Debo's he's so close to getting like $100 million, and he's just like very zen about it on Twitter. I love it. Super cool. Let's keep going. All right. Oh, wait, hold on. It needs to scroll. Okay. The truth about Jimmy Garoppolo. Ask you like this. Who was the worst player on the 49ers offense against the Vikings? I mean, it wasn't Trent Williams. Let's go around, right? This is the worst starter on the Niners offense against the Vikings. It wasn't Trent Williams. It wasn't Laken Tomlinson, even though he had 2 holding penalties. It wasn't Alex Mack. It wasn't Daniel Brunskill. It honestly wasn't even Tom Compton. I mean, he was cool. He gave up 1 sack, although Jimmy kind of tripped over himself. And all the Niners' long runs went around Compton's side to the right. I actually think he was one of the better run blockers in this game. I mean, it wasn't Kittle. Kittle was a great blocker in this game, even though he only caught 1 pass. Ayuk had 90 receiving yards. It wasn't Debo. It was the guy who turned the ball over. It was the quarterback. It was Jimmy Garoppolo. Jimmy Garoppolo was the worst player on the 49ers offense in this game. First drive, he has a 3rd down where he throws the ball into double coverage, almost gets picked. Next 3rd down, does it again, gets picked. Kyle Shanahan chews him out because he just threw the ball into double coverage. He predetermined what he was going to do and threw the ball, should have taken the sack or check down. So then they spent the rest of the first half like hiding Jimmy Garoppolo and working around him, their highest paid player, their quarterback. And then they win the game because they run for more than 200 yards and he gets credit for making some big throws here and there. Like Tom Compton made some big blocks here and there. Who cares? Is Tom Compton good? Let's be honest about Jimmy Garoppolo. He's a detriment to the offense. Every week, that they win, the last 3 weeks, whenever they win, the game plan revolves around minimizing Jimmy Garoppolo's impact. It's like the coaching staff goes in on Monday or Tuesday, whenever they're doing the game plan, they're like, all right, how can we make sure that Jimmy Garoppolo has as little of an impact on this game as possible? Okay, here's my idea. Hear this out. Let's say 45 handoffs. Let's start there. Let's shoot for 45 handoffs and then mix in, 5 passes behind the line of scrimmage, 10 passes between 0 and 10 yards past the line of scrimmage, and maybe 5 throws up the seam. Nothing deep. Just a bunch of short throws and a lot of handoffs. And let's hope our running backs win the game. That's their game plan every week. And why is that their game plan? If Jimmy Garoppolo was really good, they could win all kinds of different ways. And what are his limitations? We talk about he's limited. Yeah, it's not physical. That's the thing about Jimmy. Yeah, he can't move. His feet are so slow, and he doesn't have a super strong arm. But he should be there. It's enough. His limitations that are the reason that he's a detriment to the offense are mental. He can't read defenses efficiently. He doesn't process that information quickly. So what does he do? This leads to 2 things. He'll try to avoid doing it altogether, and he'll predetermine his reads, which leads to interceptions, like the one against the Vikings. That was just a total predetermined pass all the way. I'm throwing it here, even though it's not open. Actually, it's double covered. Now I just do a pick. That's one symptom of Jimmy Garoppolo's poor processing ability. The other one is when he tries to read the defenses, that's where the hesitation comes in. You've seen it. He drops back, and all of a sudden, he freezes. He just stands there flat-footed, and he's like looking around. And then he makes this quick snap throw without his feet aligned, without his back foot cocked and in a power position. He just throws flat-footed. He throws these little snap throws, flat-footed, 5 yards. He airmailed a running back yesterday in flat over his head. And when he throws like that, when he hesitates, when he's flat-footed and throws, it's all arm. It's all upper body. There's no footwork. There's no lower body engagement. And what does that do? That compromises his velocity and his accuracy. That's why he missed Jeff Wilson Jr. wide open in the end zone against Jacksonville. That's why he was sailing check down passes against Minnesota. He has no footwork. He just stands there flat-footed, confused by what he's seeing, and then just throws these little ducks all wrist and gets praised for his quick release. Nah, he's a detriment. He doesn't do enough to help the offense. The offense is the running backs carry everything. And he hands off and makes some throws on third down and has some conversions and some picks. He had a pick on third down yesterday. How good was he? It seems to me if your entire game plan is minimize the quarterback, make him hand off, and have him throw a bunch of short stuff, I mean, that'll get you. If your running backs can go for 200 a game, that'll get you through the regular season. But at some point, you're going to lose in the playoffs. The Niners figured that out in 2019. You need higher level quarterback play at some point when you're going against Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen. That's not going to be good enough in the playoffs. So, look, anyway, I'm going to talk about something else in a minute, but I'm just saying the Niners right now would be better off with Mac Jones. If Mac Jones were their quarterback, they'd have a better record. And the difference between Jimmy Garoppolo and Mac Jones comes down to their footwork. Mac Jones isn't athletic. I mean, he's not faster than Jimmy Garoppolo, but he moves his feet. He moves his feet. Well, he keeps his feet in throwing position. He actually transfers his weight. He has his back foot cocked. He doesn't throw flat-footed, which means even though he has a total macaroni noodle arm, he's accurate. He actually has terrific ball placement. I'm always surprised by Mac Jones. You watch him drop back, you don't see the receivers, he throws the ball, and you're like, there's no way. And then it's been perfect. That's not Jimmy. Jimmy, it makes the guy reach up, reach back, and it's like a 5-yard pass. He's not accurate. And he doesn't see the field particularly well. He hesitates, throws flat-footed. That's the truth about Jimmy Garoppolo. He's a detriment. There's a reason he lost the Super Bowl 2 years ago. You can't just ride your running backs to a Super Bowl victory. No one does that. Can't be done. Not in 2021. Let me answer some more questions, if there are some. Defense isn't getting enough credit. 6 points off kick return, 7 off Jimmy's INT. Our D was only responsible for 13 points. Amazing job against the top. Oh, I don't see it that way. Sorry. The way I saw it was the Vikings only had the ball for 22 minutes. They averaged 6.3 yards per play. That's way too much. Justin Jefferson was open all day. Kirk Cousins missed him a lot in the end zone multiple times down the field. I think the defense got let off the hook a little bit, and they're getting helped big time by the offense. They only play 20 minutes a game right now, and they have no pass rush. Did a very good job against the run, though. I want to give them credit for that. They had a terrible run defense early in the year. They shut down Dalvin Cook for sure. That was really impressive. Now, I'm going to really piss you off. I still think Trey Lance should start. I think he should start the rest of the season. And I know he won't, barring an injury. But let me explain why I think he should. I just explained why I feel Jimmy Garoppolo is a detriment to this team and the worst player on the offense. If the game plan right now is minimize the quarterback, why can't you do that for Trey Lance? If the game plan is hand off 40 times, throw 20 to 25, at least Lance can run too. It's a run-first team. He has legs. Jimmy doesn't. He can avoid sacks. Jimmy can't. Trey Lance would enhance the run game. The plan right now is to run as much as possible. That includes Debo, who's going to miss some time. Elijah Mitchell, who's missed games. They don't have a ton of ball carriers, and they can quickly revert to a team that has to pass unless Lance is in there. So Lance right now takes a run-first team and makes it better on the ground. And then he introduces the threat of the long ball, which Jimmy Garoppolo doesn't have because he stands there flat-footed and doesn't throw the ball deep. So I know that the Niners, have a winning formula right now, but I actually think Trey Lance would give them a slightly better chance of winning. And, I think it's kind of been proven. I mean, they both played against Seattle week 4. Trey Lance did demonstrably better. Offense put up 14 points with him in the game, 7 with Jimmy in the game. Jimmy doesn't do enough to say that the element of Trey Lance's legs and his long ball with his arm wouldn't at least be just as good or better. Jimmy's little 20 short throws over the middle with the interception mixed in, it's not enough. He's a passenger. The running backs are carrying this team. Trey Lance could help that. Imagine if Trey Lance was allowed to actually hand off to Elijah Mitchell more than 9 times against Arizona, they probably would have won that game. I think he gives the Niners the best chance to start in this identity of an offense. Back then, when he got to play, Kyle Shanahan didn't know what to do with this offense. If Trey Lance got to play in a game plan where Elijah Mitchell gets 27 carries and Deebo Samuel gets 6 and Lance gets 6 and he actually gets to do play action deep shots, that'd be better than this offense right now. This ball control, plotting. I think it'd be better. Anyway, we'll never see it. I just want to throw that out there. I know you guys are thinking it. I'm just not afraid to say it. Anthony says, a couple months back, Kyle was asked about Jimmy's mechanics, and he said that's all on him to learn. What in the hell kind of mindset is that? Walsh would never. Does this same go for Lance? Yikes. Yeah. I mean, Kyle never played quarterback, even though he wished he did. So he can't help. And his quarterback coach isn't anyone special. Walsh had some special quarterback coaches. So I don't know. Mike had Gary Kubiak, who was Gary Kubiak was Elway's backup. Then he was Mike's quarterback coach. Where is Kyle's Gary Kubiak? Needs one, I think. Yes, Grant, the Niners should start Trey Lance. You nailed it. Give Lance this running-centric offense, and he can work the whole field. I just don't understand. He didn't get to play in this offense. They're like, look, you can start against Arizona, but you don't really get to hand off to Elijah Mitchell. You have to be the running back today. What? Let him play. Let him do the Jimmy Garoppolo stuff with some downfield things and a few quarterback runs mixed in. Tell me the offense wouldn't be better. I don't get it. Because I know it's working now. It's not going to work. You saw this in 2019. You saw what's going to happen. Running backs can only take you so far in the NFL. Jimmy is not good enough. It's the same guy every week. He doesn't get better. It's the same. He just plays, some defenses that are better than others. It's the same old Jimmy every week. The same old Jimmy. He's not good enough to win a Super Bowl. Is he good enough to go to a Super Bowl? Yeah. If his running backs go for 200 yards a game. We've seen this play out. Guys, spoiler alert. He's not good enough. I'm worried about the game next week. The Seahawks might be viewing us like we viewed the Rams a couple of weeks ago. One game can turn tides. Yeah, I agree. Let's see how the Seahawks play tonight against Washington. If they beat Washington, that team is viable. Why do we waste our entire future on Trey Lance just to not play him? Lance needs experience. Sitting him behind Jimmy isn't going to do anything for him. I agree. That's why I'm not sure that Kyle really wants Trey Lance to start next year. He hasn't committed to that. The organization keeps saying that's going to happen, and Kyle's like, yeah, he's in the future. But I still think the coach is going to want to see him prove it in OTAs and training camp before he makes a move. When you watch the tape with Jack, you're going to see Kittle wide open down the field and in the end zone, but Jimmy threw into double coverage. Jimmy, man. Yeah. Yeah. You know why? Because he either predetermines his read or he tries to read the defense, hesitates, stands there flat-footed, and fires really inaccurate passes. Seems pretty obvious that we won't win the Super Bowl with this defense. Why not get Lance the experience? There are defenses that can stop the run because the head coach doesn't want to and he won't say why. I have my theories. Let's talk about these running backs. So I mentioned Elijah Mitchell earlier. Real quick, I want to say again, he is the second most valuable player on the team. Deebo's number 1. Mitchell's number 2. I'm not saying he's the best because everyone knows Trent Williams is the best player on the 49ers. But in terms of value, also Nick Bosa might be number 2. But the Niners pass rush isn't doing anything for them right now. It's not winning them games. Their pass protection isn't winning them games. What's winning them games is their running backs. They are running backs. Can we make that real clear? Everyone gets credit right now. Kyle Shanahan, Jimmy Garoppolo. The running backs are winning the game for the 49ers. They had one guy, Elijah Mitchell, go for 27 carries in this latest game, and he went for 27 to 1 against the Rams. Would the Niners have won either game without Elijah Mitchell doing that? I don't know. If Elijah Mitchell was hurt and they had to play those games with Jeff Wilson Jr. and Trey Sermon, do they win? I don't know. Because I don't think Deebo Samuel can carry the ball 17 times in a game. So Elijah Mitchell's really freaking important. Those 2 games that he wasn't involved against Arizona will come back to bite the Niners. They could have won those games. The Niners are 5-1 when Mitchell has more than 9 carries. More than 9. 5-1. Problem here is that he seems to get hurt a lot. He's 205. He gives hits, takes hits. And then every Monday, you didn't really know. But then Kyle's like, yeah, we didn't really hear anything. But the next day he came in and actually he's got something and he might be out. So I'm curious. Every Monday, I'm like, okay, what's Elijah Mitchell news? Because you gave him 27 carries and they're all so violent and he's 205 or whatever. So anyway, I'm not saying he's injured, but you always got to wonder. Elijah Mitchell Mondays, what's up with him? And then Sermon seems like he has a bad ankle injury. I don't think he's going to be back for a while. We'll find out. JaMychal Hasty's out. Jeff Wilson Jr. just coming back, doesn't look the same. What's going to sink? The only thing that can sink the Niners right now is lack of depth at running back. If they have to go back to we can't run the ball 40 times because we don't have 40 carries to hand out. We don't have the running backs for that. And we have to go back to passing. Well, then they're going to go back to not executing as well. And penalties and turnovers and all that stuff. And it won't just be Jimmy Garoppolo's fault, but it'll be everyone's fault. It's not how they play. So what's encouraging is they have Elijah Mitchell, who is an MVP candidate on their team. He's giving him he's even might be better than Raheem Mostert in the sense that he can really have a heavy workload, 17, 18 carries a game, no problem. But if he misses time, if Sermon's gone, if they get real thin at running back, they could go back to losing games they should win. So this is something to watch. The Niners live and die by their running backs right now. They are a running back-centric team. And running backs get dinged up. You never know what Elijah Mitchell's status is going to be that week. We'll see. Not trying to be alarmist here, but I'm just trying to put this team into perspective. Yeah, they can go on a run with their running backs. That's what's powering them. I just think maybe they could add to that rushing attack with, I don't know, maybe their first-round pick. Let's talk about tight ends. George Kittle was a terrific blocker. I may have undersold that last night in the instant reaction and the grades. Great blocker. Still a great blocker. Maybe their best blocker and their biggest asset. Him and Trent Williams. But let's be frank. They're not paying him to block. It's part of the package, but they're paying him wide receiver money. They're paying him to get open and catch balls and gain yards. And he hasn't been doing that recently. Now, he can't call his own number. Part of it is Kyle Shanahan being so focused on Elijah Mitchell and Deebo Samuel as he should be. But when I watch George Kittle run around this season, even last season, he doesn't look explosive like he was a couple years ago. In 18 and 19, he get the ball in the flat and you're like, oh man, he might go for 20 or 30 right here. You were thinking, here's a big freaking play. But now when he gets the ball, it's like, okay, first down. He's a possession receiver now. He'll break a tackle. He'll get some yards after the catch, but he's not a big play threat. This just doesn't strike me as it. To me, the only big play threat really in the offense is Deebo. If you take Deebo out of the offense, we'll see what it looks like this week. They say he's going to miss some time. If you take Deebo out of the offense, it's kind of a really slow offense, like the Patriots. Like just 10 yards at a time. And Kittle's part of that. I guess, I don't know. Do you agree? He doesn't seem to have that same explosion. He's averaging about 12 yards a catch. He's really become an afterthought in the pass game. So is Deebo Samuel, which is weird. But I'd like to see Kittle, I don't know, run faster. He used to be really fast. I guess he used to look like JV playing. He used to look like a varsity player playing JV in 2018 and 2019. Just faster, more violent, more physical. Like he made those grown-ups look like kids. Not anymore. Now it looks fairly even. The one who's doing that now is Deebo. Deebo is making NFL players look like JV athletes. He's just running by them. Like, nah, I'm sorry. I'm just a little too physically mature for that arm tackle attempt. Anyway, George, interesting to see. I guess it's the evolution of a tight end. What's the shelf life there? Still a good blocker though. But if Deebo doesn't play against, let's say it like this, if Deebo doesn't play against the Seahawks, Kittle's going to need to have a really good big game as a receiver. Big game. 10 targets. Get open. Catch the ball. Pessimism. We've only beaten one team who currently has a winning record, and Lambs are trending bad. Optimism. The NFC has no teams that look unbeatable. That's really well put. Agree. They've only beat one team with a winning record, and that's the Rams, who are a mess, right? Stafford looks injured. Stafford looks like he's got a messed up back that's going to plague him the rest of his career. So I don't know if I really take that scene. They can't run the ball. Stafford looks injured. I don't know about the Rams. I was never in on the Rams. I never liked. I felt they were a top-heavy team with some stars, but no really middle class in their roster. Team that could start off hot, but would fade when they're injured, when their stars got injured. So the other thing is the NFC has no teams that look unbeatable. True. It's wide open, but the top 3 teams in the NFC look really good. Arizona, Green Bay, Tampa, really good teams. I mean, Arizona's winning without Kyler Murray. What does that say? And then Green Bay, this might be their best year. They actually have the defense to match, to complement Aaron Rodgers right now. They do. I mean, they're winning games right now without Jair Alexander and Zadarius Smith, their 2 best players on defense, and they're playing really good defense. Aaron Rodgers is playing the best of his career. The Niners easily could play them round 1, and if not them, it could be Tampa. So, yeah, like it's wide open to be a wild card team, but those first-round games are going to be brutal for the away teams. Brutal. Doesn't mean the Niners can't win, though. Just saying. I'm just saying. Okay. Let's talk about the offensive linemen. I'm doing quality control here. All I want to say about the offensive line is, isn't it interesting that since Mike McGlinchey got hurt, the Niners are 3-0? Isn't that interesting? I've been pointing out for years that he's not only overrated, but that he's a detriment to the offense. That he was the worst player on the offense last year, and he makes it worse. A lot of people are like being too hard on him. He's a pretty good run blocker. He's a fine pass protector for a right tackle. Okay, then he goes down, and now they go on their run, and they're doing it with like Jalen Moore and Tom Compton at right tackle. And the thing about it was when McGlinchey was playing this year, the Niners couldn't run to the right. All their big runs came to the left. Now that he's out, all of a sudden they're finding big runs behind Tom Compton, who isn't good. But the running game is actually better now with Tom Compton in the game than Mike McGlinchey. That's ironic, but it's a fact. That's how bad Mike McGlinchey is. They got better without him. They got better without him. If he had gone down last year, they might have went on a run. Tom Compton, first of all, Tom, I apologize. I've been calling you Tom freaking Compton for 2 years. You're better than Mike McGlinchey. So you're no longer Tom freaking Compton. You're just Tom Compton. Mike McGlinchey, you're Mike freaking McGlinchey now. You get the freaking middle name. Mike F. McGlinchey. F stands for freaking. Because you left and the team got better. So that's cool that the team got better, but what's not cool is the fact that the Niners picked up his 5th-year option, and it's almost $11 million next year. It's fully guaranteed. So they either play a right tackle who's worse than Tom Compton, or they sit him on the bench and eat $11 million. Either way, not great. How did it take the Niners this? They needed to play Tom Compton to figure out that Mike McGlinchey wasn't good. They could have watched my numerous videos last year about Wheezy F. McGlinchey. Come on. Anyway, the Niners offensive line is hitting their stride now that 69's on the bench. And Tom MF Compton is in the saddle. Gotta love Tom Compton. Salute and apologize to you and all your loved ones. I was really roasting you for no reason. You had some bad reps in training camp, and now you're playing decently in a game. So, Tom, salute. Kittle called out Zimmer. Yeah. I like to see the coach's film before I make my determination on my opinion there. Let's talk about the defensive linemen. Here's the 49ers defensive line. Nick Bosa and a bunch of replaceable players. Okay? You got Nick Bosa, hell of a player. But he can't do it all on his own. He's like screaming upfield, and then you got 3 replaceable players doing a bunch of nothing. Now, I like Kevin Givens. He made an impact in this past game, and they developed him. They can keep him. You don't need to replace Kevin Givens. You might have something there. The rest of them can go. DJ Jones makes one good play a game in the first half and gets tired. Eric Armstead makes no impact. Arden Key, I mean, I didn't see him in this. Was he even there? All of these guys are replaceable, especially Eric Armstead. He's going to be so expensive the next few years, and he makes no impact. He makes no impact. That's the problem with Eric Armstead. Like, where are you? Where the hell are you? What do you do? What would you say you do here? We see Nick Bosa all the time. That dude makes an impact all the time. Kevin Givens made an impact. Eric Armstead doesn't. I don't know. He pushes people. He sets the edge, I guess. But they're paying him to be a really good player, and he's not. So this is the problem a little bit with the Niners roster construction right now. Their defense isn't living up. Their defense is getting carried by their offense and their running game right now. It's supposed to, they put a ton of assets into their defensive line, but D Ford's not there. Maybe he'll be there this week, but D Ford is a no-show most of the time. Kinlaw's a no-show. Ebukam does nothing. Armstead's a ghost. It's just Bosa. And this is supposed to be the engine of the defense. They don't put really any assets into the other positions. Linebacker, DB, those are all set day 2, day 3 picks. It's all their first round picks on the D line, and it's like, you got Bosa, Kinlaw, D Ford, Ebukam, whiffs, 3 whiffs. Armstead, that contract was a whiff. Man, that's why I picked the Vikings to win, because I knew they were not going to, the Niners were not going to get to Kirk Cousins, and he was going to have all day. I didn't think Kirk Cousins would still suck. Man, he was awful. There's no one around you, Kirk. It was the best part of the game was Justin Jefferson being totally unable or unwilling to hide his disdain for Kirk Cousins. Like every time he was like, it's great. I loved it. That's how I feel too. Anyway, Eric Armstead. Wow. Linebacker. Okay, so Azeez Al-Shaair is a stud. They got to re-sign him. He's been their best linebacker this season. Fred Warner, also excellent, having not his best year. And Dre Greenlaw hurt again. Here's the thing. Warner's down. If Greenlaw was healthy, they'd be cool with just Greenlaw and Al-Shaair. But Greenlaw's out too, most likely. And that complicates things. What are the Niners going to do without Warner and Greenlaw? Seems to me that's a tough one to answer. It probably depends on your opponent, if they're a run-first team. But against Seattle, I don't think you just want to roll out a safety at linebacker and dare them to run. I don't know. I mean, they kind of want to run. So I think what you could see is maybe Demetrius Flanagan-Foles, the 4th-string linebacker, start. But what I do think is in passing situations, 3rd down, 2nd and long, you're going to see the rookie Talanoa Hufanga come in at linebacker. And you saw it in this past game. The Niners are playing a lot of dime defense in that game where on 3rd down, they took out all but one linebacker and brought in Hufanga and put him down there. We're going to see that a lot. A lot of Hufanga at linebacker. Maybe that's his best position. I know when the Niners drafted him, a lot of my draft experts on my channel who watched this film felt, his athletic limitations would be less of an issue at linebacker. So maybe this is the right spot for him. It's going to be interesting. That's the implication I see. This is now Hufanga's opportunity to play his best position, because I don't think he's really the future at safety for the 49ers. At safety, he's like, sorry. I kind of get like an Adrian Colbert vibe, like a guy who has some nice hits, but is probably going to give up more big plays than how am I trying to phrase this? If he's a playmaker, he's going to give up more big plays than he creates. How about that? That's what I was trying to say. But anyway, let's see what he does at linebacker. Hufanga. I'm excited to see the linebacker experiment there. Let's talk cornerback now. Okay, so earlier I said, who's the worst starter on the Niners offense? And I went through a process of elimination and landed on the quarterback. At least that's how I felt in this last game. Who is the worst player on the Niners defense? I mean, it's not Bosa. It's not DJ Jones. It's not Armstead, even though it doesn't make an impact. It might be Ebukam. But I would say it's got to be the cornerback who commits at least one penalty a game and gets torched down the field for like 60, 70 yards a game. The thing about Josh Norman is he leads the league in forced fumbles. That's impressive. He did it again. Niners didn't recover in this game, but he did it again. He has 6. That's amazing. But your primary job is to cover, and you're awful at it. Awful. You just grab and act, incredulous when they call you for a flag. 10 flags. He has committed 10 penalties this season. Josh Norman. 10. 3 were declined. 10 penalties. What is the point? He's not good. He's not going to be on the team next season. He's the worst player on the defense. Can't you get someone else there? Is Diamador Lenore really worse than him? Also, was Norman the best guy you could find in free agency? I happen to notice that there's this guy named Rasul Douglas who was on the Cardinals practice squad. The Packers picked him up. He has 2 picks this year. He's giving up a quarterback rating of 50 and starting for Green Bay. So I don't know. Their front office found a guy who's good. Norman is not good, and he's not young, and he has no future here. Why is he playing? Quality control. My question, what is the deal with Josh Norman? Why? I don't get that. I don't understand the Niners' reluctance to develop a player at a premium position. I mean, Lenore can't play because Norman's out there? I don't know. Norman would have cost him that game if Kirk Cousins hadn't been so bad. I'd like to see Norman not play anymore. Let him take those forced fumbles to another team so he can also commit a bunch of – because those penalties are killers. They're on 3rd down. They're drive extenders. They're killers. And when the Niners go up against better teams down the stretch with good offense, with good wide receivers and quarterbacks who throw deep like the Colts were, they're going to be in trouble. All you got to do is throw deep against Norman. Go after him relentlessly because you're going to get you're going to get penalty after penalty. Was that a Freudian slip? Maybe you're going to get a pick. All right. Sorry, Josh. Maybe I'm wrong about you. No, the best part of the game was Kirk Cousins lining up under a guard in the red zone and having to call timeout. Yeah, man, I don't know what was up with Kirk Cousins, but that dude looked like he was in a fog in that game. Like he one-hopped wide open Justin Jefferson in the end zone. Justin Jefferson just about pulled his hair out. Josh Norman will be a solid, strong safety. All right, moving to strong safety then. He can't play corner. Can't play corner. Anyway, that's the show. I went through the whole team. I think the Niners would have their best chance to make a Super Bowl run with Lance. Forget the fact that Jimmy Garoppolo is not going to be here next year, and it's better to play the guy who is going to be here next year. But I think Lance gives them their best chance to win now. And the reason that that Ian Rappaport cited for the Niners still playing Jimmy is that it raises Jimmy's trade value. No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. Am I the only one? I feel like I'm taking crazy pills here. I mean, Niner fans can praise him all they want, but he's the same guy. It's the same look. Latigra, Blue Steel, it's the same look. He's the same Jimmy Garoppolo. He's Jimmy Zoolander. It's all the same look. He's not getting better. The running game got better. Kyle Shanahan got better. Brandon Ayuk got better. Did Jimmy get better? He's the same Jimmy. Latigra, Ferrari, Blue Steel, all the same look. There's no team looking at him being like, oh, damn. Look at Jimmy throw that flat-footed pass 7. It's a totally new Jimmy. The way he throws flat-footed is different than the way he threw flat-footed in the past. The way he stares down his receivers and throws picks to linebackers and safeties, totally different. No. I don't care what his freaking numbers are at the end of the year. He's still worth not a top 100 pick. So what are we doing here? You're not raising his trade value. You're not playing the quarterback who gives you the best chance to win. You're playing a handoff specialist you don't trust who won't be here next year. Can we move on? That game, that performance against the Vikings was a preview of what he's going to do when the season's on the line, when the Niners eventually lose in the playoffs because their quarterback isn't good enough. And that's why they got Trey Lance. I'm sorry. That's what happened in 2019, right? Is it not what happened in 2019? They had this amazing run game. They went to the Super Bowl. They're like, all right, Jimmy, win it. He was like, oh, what? I can't do that. What are you talking about? Worst fourth quarter ever in the Super Bowl. Me win it? I can't. I can't throw to George Kittle, who's wide open right in front of me. I'm sorry. I'm not that good. I'm not that guy. I'm not that guy. He told you he wasn't that guy. Now you're trying to be, he might be that guy. Nope, not that guy. Nope. Sorry, was that too much? That was too much. I think I went too far on that one. Okay, that's the end of the show. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys soon. Sorry, that was too much. I'll reel it back next time.